Welcome back, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here for this explainer today because we are unpacking a truly fascinating structural blueprint for rebuilding lives. We're looking at the Mississippi Department of Corrections and how they are entirely reframing the way they approach incarceration and reentry through vocational training. This isn't just about passing time. It's about fundamentally changing the trajectory of a person's life. Okay, let's dive right into this core thesis. For the longest time, the primary metric of the correctional system has basically just been time served, right? The focus was heavily on, just serving out a sentence. But the paradigm shift we're looking at today moves us away from that and focuses instead on skills earned. The overarching idea in Mississippi is actually pretty straightforward. They want to prepare people for work, not just for release. Think about it. If people leave custody equipped with actual job skills, real credentials, and a clear employment plan, they're infinitely better positioned to reenter their communities and actually succeed. Section 1. The Reentry Barrier. Looking at the baseline deficit. To really understand why this shift is happening, we have to look at the starting point for a lot of folks entering state custody. The reality? Many incarcerated people enter the system with some pretty significant deficits. We're talking limited formal education and really weak work histories. Now, when you take that existing baseline and you add a felony conviction on top of it, you create a massive systemic structural barrier to finding employment upon release. It becomes this absolute mountain that is incredibly difficult to climb without some serious intervention.
Moving on to Section 2, Mississippi's Training Toolkit, Building the Foundation Inside.
So how exactly do you construct a solution to such a massive barrier? Well, you build a layered educational toolkit. Mississippi's approach isn't just some one-size-fits-all Band-Aid. They're rapidly constructing a multi-layered foundation. It starts at the very beginning with adult literacy, remedial education, and high school equivalency prep. But then it climbs higher, right into career technical training, computer skills, and specific labor market tools like ACT Work Keys. If you're not familiar, those are essentially standardized tests that measure foundational workplace skills. They're even laying down the behavioral groundwork, with life skills, cognitive behavioral programming, and resume support. It's just a totally comprehensive, stacked approach to workforce development. And why does all of this layered training actually matter? Well, because when you're leaving the correctional system, what you need is, quote, more than a certificate. You need something that combats deep, systemic employer skepticism. When returning citizens earn industry-recognized credentials, they're proving to potential employers that they haven't just, sat through a class. They've met a rigorous, recognized standard, and that is an absolute game changer for someone trying to bridge a glaring gap in their work history. Section 3. The Vocational Village Model. Creating a structured training pipeline. Now, what's really interesting about this is a major structural innovation the state established in 2023. They moved away from the old way of doing things, which honestly often meant small, isolated classes just sort of scattered around a facility. Instead, they moved toward a comprehensive blueprint called a vocational village. This is a concentrated model that physically groups the education, the trades, and the reentry preparation all together in one structured setting. Grouping it all together like this makes it so much easier for participants to immerse themselves and complete multiple complementary layers of training all at the exact same time. If we trace the chronological trajectory of this program, we can really see it functioning as a critical step in the inmate life cycle. So, established in 2023, the village quickly ramped up. By April 2025, they celebrated a massive milestone with 167 inmates graduating from the Central Mississippi Correctional Facility. And as we sit here today in 2026, we're looking at a steadily growing pipeline taking people from custody directly into employment. Actually, I want to pause on that specific metric for just a second. 167. That is 167 individuals from a single graduation event at that one facility who successfully completed this rigorous process. It's concrete, undeniable evidence of the expanding footprint of the program, and it really shows the state's active investment in scaling this model up. Section 4, Trades and Tangible Credentials, Getting Real-World Skills for the Outside. The skills being taught inside these villages aren't just abstract concepts. They're the literal, physical building blocks for future employment. Recent graduation materials highlight highly practical, in-demand industrial trades. We're talking carpentry and electrical work, and later program announcements have even highlighted heavy equipment training. These are hard skills that translate directly from day one to real jobs in construction, maintenance, and manufacturing support on the outside. Section 5. Bridging Training and Release. This is the transition phase. Let's move to and see how this builds a transition timeline that links training to actual labor market needs, because honestly, this is the most critical step of the entire journey. Step 1 is pre-release career and goal planning. This is all about identifying realistic goals and developing time management skills before they even step out the door. Step 2 targets that crucial 6-month window right before release, where eligible inmates receive direct career services support. And finally, Step 3 connects them post-release through referrals to community programs, local law enforcement, and faith-based organizations.
Now, this transition pipeline is absolutely vital because job training alone is rarely enough. A person can be a master carpenter, but if they don't have a place to sleep or a reliable way to get to the job site, that credential quickly loses its power. Returning citizens face massive practical hurdles: housing needs, transportation, securing essential identification documents, finding appropriate clothing, managing financial obligations, and building healthy support networks. The Mississippi model recognizes that vocational training has to be fully integrated into this larger, holistic reentry system to actually work.
And what makes this educational blueprint so incredibly effective is how adaptable it is. It's not just about learning a physical trade, although, of course, that's vital. Pathways actually expand to include post-secondary options, too. Through intergovernmental agreements with community colleges and university partnerships, some individuals can actually pursue college credit and more advanced credentials. It creates this layered system where everyone has a path forward, whether that's short-term job readiness or long-term higher education. Section 6, the 2026 Reality Check, evaluating the landscape as it stands today. To truly understand this landscape, we have to look at the macro-level reality objectively. On one hand, we are seeing incredible program expansion. The state is clearly treating vocational training as a central part of incarceration, showing serious structural investments and celebrating massive graduation milestones. But on the other hand, we have to acknowledge the access limitations. Based on public information, access to these programs isn't completely universal just yet. It can be highly dependent on a person's custody level, their location within the system, their specific sentence length, and the availability of partners. Plus, completing a program doesn't automatically guarantee immediate employment. It's a massive step forward for sure, but the structural realities of the prison system still dictate who gets to participate. Ultimately, the overarching logic of Mississippi's approach is deeply rooted in public safety. The idea is that by linking inside-the-fence education directly to outside-the-fence realities, you fundamentally change outcomes. Vocational training doesn't guarantee success, but it dramatically improves employability and provides much-needed structure. The core belief driving this massive investment is that people who are equipped to work, who have stability and a fair chance at a fresh start, are simply far less likely to return to crime. Which brings us to our final thought for today. We've seen the baseline deficits, the layered toolkit, the vocational village model, and the complex realities of reentry. So I leave you with this to ponder. As we look at the future of correctional reform and community stability, is comprehensive job training inside the walls the ultimate key to ensuring public safety outside them? It's a complex journey, and the implications of what Mississippi is building in 2026 will be absolutely fascinating to watch unfold. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, keep asking the big questions.